Hey, you think I don't know about YouTube? Well, I do. With today's story, you'll laugh, you'll learn, and you'll remember where you come from and recognize where you are going. The elders say, what the old sees while sitting, a young cannot see even from the top of a tree. So come now, listen well and let the story speak to your spirit.
Listen well, children of the listening ear, and elders whose memories are woven like baskets of palm fiber. Draw closer to the fire and let the night wind carry this tale into your hearts. For the elders say, a story is a canoe. Only when everyone sits inside does it cross the river. This story comes from the green islands of São Tomé and Príncipe, where the forests breathe mist in the morning and the sea sings all night against the black volcanic rocks. In those days, long before the present generation of birds learnt the wisdom of unity, the sky above the island had no ruler. And where there is no ruler, the elders say, every bird begins to think it is the sun. In the forest of São Tomé, the trees stood tall and thick as a council of elders. Cocoa pods hung heavy like red lanterns beneath their leaves, and breadfruit trees bowed with fruit so round and full that even the monkeys argued over them. Rain fell gently most days, and the rivers sang their silver songs down toward the sea.
Birds lived everywhere. Bright sunbirds darted like sparks between blossoms. Pigeons waddled along thick branches, muttering to themselves. Weaver birds built entire villages of hanging nests that swayed in the wind like tiny huts above the forest floor. Seagulls came and went from the coast, gossiping loudly about the moods of the ocean. But with so many wings sharing the same sky, trouble often followed. The hawks hunted too close to nesting grounds. The crows shouted over everyone at gatherings. The owls ruled the night and ignored the worries of the daybirds. Sometimes fights broke out over fruit trees so fiercely that feathers drifted through the air like falling leaves. The forest had strength, yes, but no order. And it was during those restless seasons that the bird called Tico, the grey parrot, began to speak. Tico lived with his mate Lola in a hollow baobab tree, not far from a clearing where birds gathered to drink from rainwater pools. Their home was comfortable but simple. Lola kept the nest tidy, lining it with soft fibers and dry moss. Their two young chicks chipped endlessly, demanding fruit and stories from their father. Tico loved his family deeply. Yet, in his quiet moments, when Lola slept and the chicks were silent, he often gazed up at the vast sky and wondered why the birds who shared it could not live in harmony. His thoughts were shaped by hardship. When Tico was still a young fledgling, a great island storm had torn through the forest with winds so fierce that even the ancient trees groaned like old men. His family's nest, built high in a kapok tree, was ripped away and hurled into the darkness. Tico survived only because he clung desperately to a broken branch. His parents did not. After that night, it was Mama Benga, the hornbill, keeper of the forest's oldest wisdom, who took him in. Mama Benga had feathers the color of faded sunset and eyes that had watched many seasons come and go. She fed the young parrot and filled his ears with stories. Listen well, she would tell him. A flock that argues with itself cannot outrun the storm. Those words settled deep inside Tico's heart. And so, when he grew strong and wise, he began to speak about
order. Each morning, he perched on a cocoa branch overlooking the clearing and called to the birds below. "Brothers, sisters, look at our sky. We quarrel over fruit, fight for branches, and ignore the cries of the weak. The hawks hunt without limits. The crows shout louder than wisdom. Is this how a proud people should live?" Some birds nodded thoughtfully. Some laughed and flew away, but others listened. Among those who listened most closely was Kamba, the eagle, who lived high on the slopes of Pico de São Tomé. Kamba was powerful, respected, and solitary. His wings were so wide that when he glided across the sun, the forest below dimmed for a moment.
There was also Bina, the weaver weed, tireless builder and organizer of the nest colonies. She admired the idea of order. But not everyone liked Tico's talk. Maku, the crow, scoffed loudly. "Order? Ha! What the parrot wants is a throne." Yet even Maku could not stop the idea from spreading. Soon birds across the forest were whispering the same question. Should the birds choose a king? The debate lasted many moons. Finally, Mama Benga, the hornbill, called for a great gathering beneath the towering Iroko tree in the central clearing. Never before had so many birds assembled in one place. Gulls arrived from the coast. Owls blinked sleepily in the daylight. Parrots chattered excitedly. Swifts circled overhead like spinning arrows. Mama Benga struck the trunk of the Iroko tree with her heavy beak. Tock, tock, tock. The forest fell silent. "Birds of the island," she croaked, "you wish to choose a king, but remember the proverb. The bird who sits on the tallest branch must still answer to the wind." The birds murmured in agreement. "To choose a ruler fairly," Mama Benga continued, "we will hold a contest. The bird who can fly higher than all others shall become king." Excitement burst across the clearing. The swifts chirped eagerly. The hawks flexed their wings. The gulls laughed confidently, but Tico said nothing, for inside his clever mind, a quiet plan was already forming. On the morning of the contest, the forest woke before the sun. Even the monkeys gathered in the branches to watch. Antelope stood at the edge of the clearing. The sea wind carried the distant rhythm of village drums through the trees. Mama Benga raised her wings. "When the drums stop, you will fly." Boom, boom, boom. The drums echoed through the forest like a beating heart. Then, silence. The sky exploded with wings. Up soared the hawks, up darted the swifts, up glided the gulls, and towering above them all rose Kamba the eagle. But hidden among the eagle's broad feathers clung a small grey parrot, Tico. Before the contest began, he had quietly settled himself onto Kamba's back. The eagle, focused on the sky, did not notice. Higher they climbed. Soon the smaller birds dropped away. Then the hawks, then the gulls. Only the eagle remained. From the ground, the bird shouted with admiration, "Kamba, king of the sky!" But just as the eagle reached his highest point, Tico suddenly leapt upward from his back and flapped a little higher. Gasps rose from the clearing. The parrot flies above the eagle. And so, when the birds returned to earth, Mama Benga announced the winner.
Tico the parrot has flown highest. He shall be king." Cheers shook the forest. Thus began the reign of King Tico. At first, his rule was wise. He created fair laws for sharing fruit trees. Hawks were forbidden from hunting near nests. Owls were asked to warn the forest of storms. Weaver birds helped repair damaged nests after heavy rains.
For a time, the birds prospered. But power is a fruit that must be eaten carefully. Soon, Tico built a grand nest high in the tallest breadfruit tree. Crows surrounded him, praising his every word. New rules appeared. Each bird must bring fruit to the king every morning. Weaver birds must build royal nests. Gulls must guard the coast. The birds obeyed, but uneasily. Meanwhile, in the quiet baobab tree, Lola watched her mate change. "You do not visit the chicks anymore," she said one evening. "The kingdom needs me," Tico replied. But Lola knew something was wrong. For the elders say, a crown that grows too heavy will bend the neck. One evening, while birds gathered near the sea cliffs, Mama Benga spoke softly. "Do you remember how the parrot won the sky?" The eagle lowered his head. "I remember feeling something on my back that day." Whispers spread through the flock. Truth, like a buried seed, had begun to grow. Soon the birds called another meeting. Tico arrived proudly with his crow advisors. "What troubles my people?" he asked. A tiny sunbird named Suri fluttered forward. Her voice trembled. "A king who flies on another's wings must remember the strength of the flock." Silence fell. The eagle stepped forward. "Did you win the sky with your own wings, Tico?" The parrot lowered his head. The forest waited. Finally, Mama Benga spoke. "The river may hide its source, but one day the stones will speak." The truth was clear. Tico had cheated. Anger erupted. Some birds demanded his exile. Others wanted to tear apart the crown. But Lola flew forward. "Remember," she said softly, "even a crooked tree once grew straight from the soil." Her words cooled the anger. Tico bowed his head. "I wanted order," he said quietly, "but I forgot that a king who forgets his people loses the sky itself." Mama Benga raised her wings. "There will be no king among us again," she declared. "A flock is strongest when every wing beats together." The birds agreed. The crown was broken apart and shared among them as a reminder. The eagle returned to the mountain, the gulls to the sea, the weaver birds to their nests, and Tico, he returned home to Lola and his chicks. He was no longer king, but slowly, through humility and honest work, he earned something greater than a crown: the trust of the flock. And even today, when parrots chatter loudly in the forests of São Tomé and Príncipe, the elders smile and say, "That one remembers the day the birds chose a king and learned that the sky belongs to everyone." For the wisdom of the birds still rides the island wind. Unity lifts the flock. Power must answer to the people,
and a leader who forgets the ground will one day fall from the sky.
My dear ones, this is where our story ends for now. But tell me, what did your heart feel as you listened? Share your thoughts in the comment, You know Grandma loves to hear from you. And don't forget, press that subscribe button, like the story, and ring the little bell so that every time I come back here, you will be the first to join me. Until then, may your paths be safe, fruitful, and peaceful. Remember, keep your heart warm, your spirit curious and kind.